lazed with exhaustion as I meticulously analyzed the data on the Black Moon's previous appearances. My fingers traced the screen, scrolling through images of devastation. Cities reduced to rubble, landscapes scarred by nature's fury. I couldn't shake the feeling that we were hurtling toward another catastrophe. "Damn it, Lucas, you need to take a break," Javier's voice broke through my trance. I turned to see him leaning against the doorframe, arms crossed, his expression a mix of concern and skepticism. "You've been at this for hours. You're going to burn out." "I can't afford to burn out, Javier. We have less than a week," I replied, my voice tinged with desperation. "The Black Moon is coming back. The last time it appeared, it unleashed chaos across the globe. We have to figure out why." He shook his head, the skeptical engineer in him refusing to entertain the notion of celestial omens. "You really think this is just about the moon? There has to be a scientific explanation for the disasters. We're not living in the Middle Ages anymore." "Maybe not, but the patterns don't lie," I insisted, gesturing to the screen. "Every 150 years, without fail. It's not just a coincidence." "Patterns can be misleading," he countered, pushing himself off the doorframe to approach the console. "Look, I get it. You're passionate about this. But we're scientists, not fortune tellers." Before I could respond, the door creaked open, and Clara entered, her face flushed with urgency.
"Lucas, Javier.
You won't believe what I just heard." "What is it?" Clara's excitement was palpable, her enthusiasm a stark contrast to our somber mood. "Strange seismic activities have been recorded all over the world," she said, her voice barely containing her agitation. "Earthquakes, landslides, you name it. It's as if the Earth itself is reacting to something." I exchanged glances with Javier, who raised an eyebrow, his skepticism momentarily fading. "Are you sure the data is reliable?" "Absolutely," Clara replied, her eyes sparkling with determination. "And it's getting worse. The Black Moon is set to reappear in just a few days. We're running out of time." "Then we need to act," I said, feeling the weight of responsibility settle on my shoulders. "We can't ignore these signs. We must investigate further." "Agreed," Clara nodded, glancing at Javier. "What do you think?" "I still think we're overreacting," he said, though I could hear the uncertainty creeping into his voice. "But if there's even a slight chance that this is connected to the Black Moon, we should take it seriously." "Great. Let's start by looking into historical records," Clara suggested, her enthusiasm rekindling the spark of hope in the room. "There must be something in ancient texts that could give us a clue." "I'll pull up the data on ancient lunar phenomena," I said, already turning back to my computer. "If there's a link, we need to find it fast." As we worked, Beatrice entered, her presence bringing an air of mystery to the observatory. "I couldn't help but overhear," she said, her voice smooth and calm. "You're diving into the past, aren't you?" "Exactly," Clara replied, gesturing to the screen. "We think the Black Moon's appearances might be documented in various cultures. There has to be some record of its impact." Beatrice nodded, her eyes glinting with intrigue. The ancients had a profound understanding of celestial events. They believed the moon held power over human destiny. Javier scoffed lightly. "You mean superstition?" "Is it superstition if it has historical significance?" Beatrice countered, undeterred by his dismissal. "We could extract valuable insights from their beliefs." "Fine," Javier relented, crossing his arms. "But let's not get lost in myths. We need to anchor this in science." "Agreed." Beatrice smiled, a flicker of mischief in her expression. "But sometimes, science and history intertwine in ways we can't yet comprehend." As we delved back into our work, I felt a strange sense of foreboding settle in my chest. The Black Moon was more than just an astronomical event. It was a harbinger of something deeper. I could sense the urgency in the air, the ticking clock counting down to an inevitable confrontation with the unknown. Would we be able to uncover the truth in time? Or would we, too, become just another footnote in the dark history of the Black Moon? The ancient library was a labyrinth of history, each dusty tome and scroll whispering secrets of the past. As I stepped through the heavy wooden doors, the scent of old parchment enveloped me, bringing with it a sense of awe and trepidation. Clara was already at a large oak table, her brow furrowed in concentration as she sifted through stacks of manuscripts. "Lucas, come here," she beckoned, her voice barely a whisper, reverberating through the stillness. I moved closer, intrigued by the fervor in her tone. "What did you find?" I asked, leaning over her shoulder to catch a glimpse of the delicate script. "I think I've uncovered a pattern," she said, her eyes sparkling with excitement. "Look here." Every time the black moon appeared, there were significant seismic activities recorded. Not just in Spain, but globally. Earthquakes, volcanic eruptions, you name it. I squinted at the ancient text, my mind racing. It's as if the moon itself is a catalyst for chaos. "Exactly," Clara replied, her voice gaining strength. "And if we can understand this pattern, we might be able to predict what's coming. We can't afford to ignore these signs." Just then, Javier strolled in, his expression skeptical as always. "You're both getting carried away with myths and legends. Just because there's a correlation doesn't mean there's causation. Science explains these phenomena." I turned to him, frustration bubbling beneath the surface. What if the science behind it is more complex than anything we currently understand? You can't dismiss Clara's findings outright. "Look," Javier said, crossing his arms defensively. "I'm not saying we shouldn't investigate. I just think we need to approach this with a critical mind and not get lost in the superstitions of the past." Beatriz entered the room, her presence commanding attention. "What's going on?" she asked, sensing the tension. "Clara has found a connection between the Black Moon and past cataclysms," I explained, trying to keep my voice steady. "Interesting," Beatriz mused, her fingers tracing the spines of the ancient texts lining the shelves. "But we cannot overlook the significance of ancient records. Cultures throughout history have documented celestial events and their impacts on humanity. Perhaps there's more to this than mere coincidence." I could see Javier's resolve wavering, the weight of Beatriz's words sinking in. "All right," he conceded, "but only if we can balance our exploration of these old texts with empirical evidence." "Deal," Clara said, a smile breaking through her earlier intensity. As we delved deeper into the manuscripts, I felt an undeniable pull to one particular scroll. It was faded and frayed at the edges, its contents barely legible. "What's this?" I mumbled to myself as I carefully unrolled it, revealing a tale of an ancient artifact said to hold the key to controlling the Black Moon's power. "Lucas, what did you find?" Clara asked, her curiosity piqued. "It's a legend about a key that can unlock the moon's powers," I replied, my heart racing. "It mentions an artifact hidden somewhere in Spain. If we could find it." "It could be our only hope," Clara finished, her voice barely above a whisper. Just then, a deep rumble shook the library, causing dust to rain down from the ceiling. Javier stumbled, gripping the edge of the table for support. "What the hell was that?" he exclaimed, his earlier skepticism replaced by panic. "Earthquake!" Beatriz shouted, her eyes wide with alarm. A deafening crack echoed through the library as books toppled from their shelves and the wooden beams creaked ominously. "We need to get out of here," I yelled, my heart pounding in my chest. As we rushed toward the exit, I glanced back at the ancient texts, a sense of foreboding gripping my insides. The Black Moon was coming, and now it felt like we were racing against time, not only to uncover its secrets but to survive the chaos it threatened to unleash once more. As we split up to pursue leads on the artifact, an uneasy tension hung in the air. Clara decided to head to a small village known for its ancient traditions, while Javier and I set off for an archaeological site rumored to contain relics from the time of the last Black Moon. I couldn't shake the feeling that every step we took was leading us closer to something monumental, but also dangerously unknown. "Stay safe, Clara," I called out as she walked away, her silhouette fading into the distance. I felt a pang of worry for her. She was determined but sometimes too reckless. Javier shrugged and adjusted his glasses, a skeptical look on his face. "Let's focus on the data, Lucas. All this folklore about the Black Moon is just that, folklore." His dismissive tone grated on my nerves. "I get that you're a man of science, Javier," I replied, my frustration bubbling over. "But this isn't just a weather pattern we're dealing with. People have been talking about the Black Moon for centuries. We need to consider all angles." "Right, because believing in myths will save us from whatever disaster is coming," he shot back, rolling his eyes. "Let's just get to the site," I snapped, turning away to hide my irritation. As we drove towards the archaeological site, I felt the weight of our mission pressing down on me. I glanced at the sky, noticing how the clouds seemed to swirl ominously, as if reflecting the turmoil within us. Upon arriving at the site, we were greeted by the remnants of an ancient temple, its stones worn but still majestic. I couldn't help but feel a sense of reverence as I stepped onto the uneven ground. "Look at this," I said, pointing at peculiar carvings on one of the stones. "These symbols, they resemble the drawings from the manuscripts we studied." Javier leaned closer, his skepticism momentarily fading. "You think they could be related to the Black Moon?" "They must be," I replied, excitement creeping into my voice. "We need to document everything. This could lead us to the artifact." We spent hours meticulously examining the site, taking notes and photographs. The atmosphere was thick with anticipation. Every rock felt like it held secrets waiting to be uncovered, and I found myself lost in the thrill of discovery. Suddenly, Javier's voice broke through my reverie. "Lucas, you need to see this." He was crouched near a collapsed section of the temple, his eyes wide with wonder. I hurried to his side, and my breath caught in my throat. Buried beneath the rubble was a small ornate box, its surface intricately designed with the same symbols we had noted earlier. Could this be it? I whispered, almost afraid to hope. "Only one way to find out," Javier replied, brushing away dirt and debris. I felt my heart race as he pried the box open. Inside lay a shimmering crystal, pulsating with a faint light. "Do you think it's the key?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. "I don't know, but whatever it is, it feels powerful." Javier's expression shifted from skepticism to awe. Just then, a tremor shook the ground beneath us. We stumbled, exchanging worried glances. The earthquake from earlier, was that just a coincidence? I asked, my mind racing. "I don't think so," Javier replied, his voice tinged with urgency. "We need to get back to Clara. Whatever is happening, it's connected." As we made our way back to the car, a sense of dread washed over me. The Black Moon was approaching, and with it, chaos. I couldn't help but think of Clara alone in that village, delving into legends that might hold the key to understanding what we had just uncovered. Once we reached the car, I quickly pulled out my phone, dialing Clara's number. "Come on, pick up," I muttered, anxiety creeping in as the line rang and rang. Finally, her voice broke through the static. "Lucas? I was just about to call you," she said, sounding breathless. "What did you find?" I asked, gripping the phone tightly. "There's a legend about a shrine that holds the key to the Black Moon's power," she explained, her excitement palpable. "But it can only be accessed under the light of the Black Moon. We need to find it before it's too late." "Clara, we may have found something too, a crystal that could be connected to the artifact," I responded, my mind racing at the implications. "Meet me at the village square. We have to combine our findings," she insisted, urgency lacing her tone. As I hung up, I exchanged a glance with Javier, both of us aware that the pieces of this puzzle were falling into place, but we were still missing the bigger picture. The Black Moon was approaching, and its secrets were waiting to be uncovered, drawing us closer to a destiny we could neither foresee nor escape. As I gathered with Clara, Javier, and Beatriz in our makeshift meeting room at the observatory, the atmosphere was thick with tension. The flickering fluorescent lights cast intermittent shadows on the walls, mimicking the turmoil within us. I leaned forward, resting my elbows on the table, the weight of the impending Black Moon pressing down on my shoulders. "Let's share what we've uncovered," I said, trying to keep my voice steady despite the anxiety bubbling beneath the surface. "Clara, you go first." Clara adjusted her glasses, her eyes alight with the fervor of her discoveries. In the village I visited, the legends were more than just stories. They spoke of a shrine that could only be accessed during the Black Moon's rise. The villagers believe it holds the key to controlling its power. Her voice trembled slightly, betraying her excitement. "That's fascinating," Beatriz replied, her usual calm demeanor replaced by an eagerness that mirrored Clara's. "These legends are crucial. They connect the past to our present. We must heed them." Javier scoffed, crossing his arms defiantly. "Legends? They're just that, stories. We need empirical evidence, not fairy tales. You can't seriously believe that some old shrine holds the solution to this crisis." "Javier, you can't ignore the patterns we've found," I interjected, feeling the frustration rise within me. "Every time the Black Moon appears, it coincides with disasters. There's a reason these legends have persisted through centuries." "Or it's just coincidence," he shot back, his skepticism unwavering. "We should focus on the scientific data we've gathered. That's what will save humanity, not chasing ghosts in the countryside. Clara's brow furrowed as she spoke. But what if the legends contain a truth we haven't yet understood? They've survived this long for a reason. We need to consider all possibilities if we're going to stop the calamities. I could feel the tension in the room escalating, like a storm brewing on the horizon. Beatrice, sensing the impasse, interjected calmly. Perhaps we can find a way to combine our approaches. Science and history don't have to be at odds. We can analyze the legends while also looking for tangible evidence. Javier rolled his eyes but nodded reluctantly.
Fine.
Let's say I entertain this notion of a shrine. What's our plan? How do we reach it in time? I took a deep breath, knowing that we needed a direction. We need to be at the shrine during the peak of the black moon. It's a narrow window, and we'll have to move fast. Clara, can you lead us back to that village? Yes, I can, she replied, her determination shining through. But we must prepare for the journey. We'll need supplies and a clear strategy. As we discussed logistics, I felt a gnawing apprehension. The clock was ticking, and with each passing moment, the threat of the black moon loomed larger. I glanced at the clock on the wall, its ticking sound feeling like a countdown to disaster. Suddenly, my phone buzzed, breaking my concentration. I glanced at the screen and my heart skipped a beat. It was a message from an unknown number. I hesitated, then opened it. Beware the path you choose. The moon's power is not to be trifled with. You'll unleash a darkness far greater than you imagine. My skin prickled with unease. I looked up at the team, who were still engrossed in planning. Should I share this ominous warning? Would it only add to Javier's skepticism or fuel Beatrice's fervor? Lucas? You all right? Clara's voice pulled me back to the moment. Yeah, just got a strange message. I hesitated, weighing my words. It's nothing. Just a warning, I suppose. Javier raised an eyebrow, skeptical. A warning? From who? The ghosts of the past. Let's focus on the task at hand, Beatrice said, her voice firm. We need to trust each other, especially now. Whatever the message is, it shouldn't derail us from our mission. I nodded, but the message lingered in my mind like a shadow. As we finalized our plans, I couldn't shake the feeling that we were on the precipice of something monumental, something that might change our lives forever. We were a team bound by a common goal, yet I felt an undercurrent of doubt. Would we be able to confront the truth waiting for us beneath the black moon's gaze? As the hour grew late, the weight of our choices pressed heavily upon my chest, intertwining hope and fear in a way I had never experienced before. As we trekked through the dense forest, the air thick with an ominous energy, I could hardly shake the feeling that we were being watched. The path ahead was narrow, flanked by trees that seemed to loom over us like ancient sentinels. The atmosphere was charged with something inexplicable, and each gust of wind sent chills down my spine. Keep your eyes peeled, Lucas said, breaking the heavy silence. His voice was steady, but I could hear the underlying tension. This place has a history. History or not, we need to focus, Javier chimed in, brushing his hair back in frustration. We don't have time for distractions. I admired his practicality, but the weight of the impending black moon pressed on my mind like a vice. It was becoming increasingly difficult to ignore the strange occurrences around us. Sudden shifts in temperature, whispers in the breeze that felt like echoes of the past. Look. Clara pointed ahead, her voice rising with excitement. The shrine should be just beyond that clearing. I felt a surge of hope, but it was quickly overshadowed by apprehension. As we neared the clearing, the sky above darkened in a way that felt unnatural. Thunder rumbled in the distance, and the wind picked up, swirling leaves around us like chaotic dancers. It's just a storm, Javier insisted, but I could see the concern in his eyes. We should hurry. We pressed on, and as we stepped into the clearing, I was struck by the sight before us. The shrine was a weathered stone structure, adorned with intricate carvings that seemed to pulse with energy. But we weren't alone. A group of people clad in dark robes stood in a circle around the shrine, chanting in a language I couldn't understand. My heart raced as I recognized the sigils etched into the stones, symbols linked to the black moon. Who are they? I whispered, my voice barely audible. Cultists, Lucas said, his expression grim. They must be trying to summon the power of the black moon. Clara's eyes widened as she took in the scene, and I could see the conflict brewing within her. We can't just walk in there. They might be dangerous, she said, her voice tinged with uncertainty. What's our plan then? Javier pressed, his irritation evident. We can't let them get to the artifact first. I felt a pull from the shrine, a magnetic force drawing me closer despite my better judgment. Maybe we should try to reason with them, I suggested, surprising even myself. If they believe in this power, perhaps we can convince them to share their knowledge. Are you out of your mind? Javier exclaimed, disbelief etched across his face. They're not going to listen to reason. We need to take action. But before we could devise a better plan, Clara stepped forward. Wait, she said, her voice steady yet filled with a strange fervor. I feel something. The moon's energy is different. Lucas turned to her, concern etched in his brow. Clara, what do you mean? It's like it's calling to me, she replied, her gaze locked on the shrine. I think I can understand them. Are you sure? Lucas asked, his skepticism palpable. This isn't the time for half measures. Clara breathed deeply, her eyes shining with an intensity one had never seen before. I need to try, she said, taking another step forward. I feel connected to this place in a way I can't explain. As Clara approached the cultists, I felt a surge of fear and admiration. What if she was right? What if the moon was truly communicating with her? Yet, the closer she got, the more I sensed the danger radiating from the group. Clara, wait. I shouted, but it was too late. She had reached the edge of the circle. The chanting paused, and the cultists turned to face her, their expressions a mix of curiosity and hostility. Who dares to disturb our sacred rite? One of the cult leaders demanded, his voice booming like thunder. I am Clara, she said boldly, her voice unwavering. I come seeking the truth about the Black Moon and its power. The air around us crackled with tension, and I felt the weight of the moment pressing down on me. We were standing on the precipice of something unimaginable, caught in a web of ancient beliefs and modern fears. I glanced at Lucas and Javier, their faces a mixture of awe and trepidation. Whatever happened next would alter the course of our lives forever. The tension in the air was palpable as we faced the cult members, their dark hooded figures illuminated by the eerie glow of the black moon above. I could feel the weight of the moment pressing down on me, as if the very earth trembled in anticipation of what was to come. Dr. Lucas Martinez, his brow furrowed in concentration, stood beside me, his presence a reassuring anchor amidst the chaos. Why are you here? One of the cult members hissed, his voice dripping with disdain. The Black Moon is not to be trifled with. It heralds a new world order, one that you cannot comprehend. Lucas stepped forward, his voice steady. We're here to stop the chaos it brings, to prevent the suffering it has caused for centuries. We seek to understand its true nature, not to manipulate it. The cult leader chuckled darkly, the sound sending chills down my spine. Understanding? You think you can understand what you cannot control? You are mere pawns in this cosmic game. The moon will choose its champions, and it has chosen us. I glanced at Clara, who was standing slightly apart from us, her eyes glazed as if she were in a trance. Clara. I called out, my heart racing. Are you allrecht? She slowly turned her head toward me, a strange smile on her lips. Yves. I've been listening to it, she said, her voice distant. The moon is speaking to me. It has shown me things. What things? Lucas pressed, concern etching his features. That the key to breaking the curse isn't in the artifact, Clara continued, her voice gaining strength. It's in us. We are the descendants of those who once sealed its power. We are connected to this force in ways we cannot fully comprehend. The cult members exchanged glances, their confidence faltering. You dare to claim such a thing? The leader spat, but there was a hint of uncertainty in his tone. Yes, Clara said, her conviction growing with each word. You seek to harness the moon's energy for your own purposes, but it doesn't work that way. We must unite our strengths, science, history, and belief, to transform its energy into something protective, instead of destructive. Unite. Javier scoffed, shaking his head. You're talking about a fantasy. This is science we're dealing with. Is it? Clara challenged, her voice rising. Science has limits, Javier. Sometimes, we need to believe in something greater than ourselves to find the truth. Enough! The cult leader shouted, his patience wearing thin. You will not interfere with our destiny. As if on cue, the black moon rose higher in the sky, casting an ominous shadow over the shrine. I felt a surge of energy coursing through me, a call to action that I could not ignore. "Clara, let's do it," I urged, my heart racing. "Let's harness this energy together." "Together," she echoed, her eyes locking onto mine, filled with both fear and determination. "Everyone, form a circle," Lucas commanded, his voice cutting through the tension. "We need to channel our energies into a single point." We moved swiftly, positioning ourselves in a circle, hands linked, our breaths mingling in the cool night air. The cult members watched us, a mix of confusion and anger flashing across their faces. "Now, focus on the moon," Clara instructed, her voice steady despite the chaos surrounding us. "Feel its energy. Let it flow through you." As we closed our eyes and concentrated, I felt a warmth enveloping us, a light that pierced through the darkness. It was as if the moon itself was responding to our call, its energy pulsing in rhythm with our hearts. I could feel the past and the future colliding within me, the weight of our ancestors' choices pressing down on my shoulders. "Together we can rewrite our fate," Clara urged, her voice like a beacon guiding us through the storm. "We can transform this darkness into light." In that moment, I understood. We were not merely scientists, engineers, or historians. We were a tapestry woven from the threads of our ancestors' lives, bound by a shared purpose. The power of the moon surged around us, and I felt the darkness dissipate, replaced by a radiant energy that illuminated the night. The cult members recoiled, their faces twisted in disbelief. "What are you doing?" the leader shouted, panic rising in his voice. "Creating a new destiny," Lucas replied, his eyes alight with hope. As Clara led us in unison, our voices rising together in a chant that resonated through the air, I felt the energy of the black moon transform. It was no longer a harbinger of chaos. It became a protective force, a shield against the darkness that sought to consume us. And in that climactic moment, I realized that we were not just fighting against the black moon. We were embracing its power, rewriting the fate of humanity.